So welcome back. Today we're going to do an episode that I haven't realistically done in a couple of years. And something that I used to do and include on the channel was build fire pits and fire rings. But honestly, as I started building the house over the last couple of years and all these major projects on the property, I just have not had time to dedicate to small little projects like this. Now, before you ask, because I get asked every time I make one of these videos, can I build one of these for you? Currently, right now, I'm not taking orders. I haven't in a couple of years, and I've literally had some people waiting that long, so I need to knock out a couple of these pits now that I have dedicated 1 to 2 days aside for that, but eventually I will get back to taking orders. I've been buying these propane tanks as I can find them. That's becoming a lot more difficult and expensive too, and kind of sticking these back. As YouTube continues to grow, I'm gonna need DIY projects and things to do. I have all different kinds of tanks, all different sizes, and lots of different projects planned for the future as I start getting more and more free time and getting away from, well, big projects like a house. So we're gonna do smokers, we're gonna do cookers. I have all kinds of stuff planned in the future. So here's the thing, anytime you cut or weld on a tank that has had something like gas in it, like this propane, for example, what I always do, these are already opened and purged by the company that I buy them from, but just to be safe, I'll go ahead and fill the tanks up completely with water. The valves have been removed out of the top, and once you fill all this up, you completely purge any remaining gases in there out. We'll flip it over, drain it, and now it's safe to cut and weld on. Okay, so here's the ultimate test for my pilot arc plasma, the Cut 50 from Vevor. A lot of y'all have asked about the duty cycle. If there's ever a time to hit it, it's now. We're literally about to make several feet of cuts through 3/8 inch thick material. I'm gonna have it maxed out the whole time, so there's no doubt I should hit the duty cycle right here. Let's see. I've done made a couple feet of cuts and I have yet to hit the duty cycle, but as I was afraid, there's a lot of me touching material and working this back and forth. Probably want to burning through quite a few tips doing this. I don't know if I'm going to prefer this method or that big cutoff wheel. No doubt this is quicker. Whew, holy smokes. So I just made an entire cut all the way around. Obviously it wasn't 100% continuous. I had to stop, roll the tank, throw a quick line on, etc. I did not once hit a duty cycle. Completely maxed out, all 50 amps now on that little plasma. So for everybody that was curious about that, that just blew my mind. I would have bet any amount of money it would have never made it, even maybe even a quarter way around without hitting duty cycle and needing to cool off. That is crazy. Now, let's see how hard it is to get this to come apart, because all that slag is almost welded back together on the backside. And I have some thoughts on why I think this is not the right tool to do what I'm trying to accomplish right here. Okay, so we cut through. However, what you would expect from a plasma cutter is a lot of slag that I have to chip off and a relatively rough cut, which means I have a tremendous amount of grinding to do. And that is why I think this is not the right tool to do all this cutting. I think I'd be better off cutting this with a cutoff wheel on my big grinder, even though I'm gonna burn through a few dollars worth of disc. It takes a little longer, but then you're left with a nice clean cut and very little finished cleanup work. But I want to show y'all something else that's impressed me with this plasma cutter. This area right here had a big welded in piece. Look at there, 3/4 of an inch thick, and that plasma cutter cut through it, and it is not rated to cut through material more than 1/2 of an inch. So that surprised me as well. That's a bad little dude. Okay, without a doubt, the cutoff wheel takes longer, wears your back and body out. You're having to just put into it so much, and it's such a heavy piece of equipment, but it is the way to go. I am left with a perfectly clean cut. I only have to do a tiny little bit of grinding, and then I can keep on moving and do the rest of the work that I need to do. Now, of course, this is the fire pit that everybody wants, and this is the hardest tank on the planet for me to get, because they pretty much do not make them anymore, and you have to find them after they have been pulled out of service and condemned. That is 41 inches across, 3/8 thick steel. That's some serious stuff. That's a lifetime fire pit right there. Sadly, often they'll have welded in bungs in them, and I have to cut that out, weld the hole up. Doesn't look the world's best, but it is what it is. Stop. Sit. Good boy. Good boy. All right, you ready? You ready? Get it, get it, get it. Get it, get it. Well, I have quite a few things knocked out here. It took me a couple of days, but here's a new pit that I'm experimenting with since I can get a lot of these type tanks. This is a new style tank, 250 gallon, and it's got a relatively shallow end. I'm used to dealing with much deeper, like 60s and 70s built tanks. Those are just getting very hard to find, but I kind of like the shallow design. It's getting a lot of heat right off the top of the fire to whoever's sitting around it. And I did some really tall legs. So what I'm gonna experiment with is see how high up this gets, what it does to the grass, and more importantly, I think I'm gonna burn this pit on our back porch since we have a 16-foot peak to the ceiling there. And I'm gonna really pay attention if this is spaced far enough off the concrete, it doesn't affect the concrete, discolor it, dry it out in any way. That's something I've always been curious about. So I might as well be the test subject. So this is the same style pit there with shorter legs, which was requested by the customer that's getting this. And they also wanted taller sides to kind of help contain the pit. So there's many different ways you can do this. Over here is a big 41-inch fire ring made out of 3/8 inch material. You're just never gonna burn these out. By the way, these pits are still a 1/4 inch thick. That's just so much thicker than the junk that you get at the big box stores. Like these pits can literally wind up being lifetime pits. Same with that ring right there. So what I typically do, it is so difficult to get this outside paint off. So I'll do what I'm doing right here, right now. I'm trying to build me up a coal bed in here, and then I'm just gonna load this pit down with wood and get the pit so hot that it actually will melt the paint right off. I'll get it cleaned up, and then the pit has a nice smooth finish on the outside, and I just let them rust. So my big pit over there I've had for a few years, and it's got a nice rusty patina on the outside that's an even coat. Okay, well, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. I love building things like this. This was fun. I just really don't set enough time aside to do these types of things. All right, hopefully y'all enjoyed it. We'll catch you on the next episode.